I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who ends up writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 5 years now. At first, everything seemed perfect. Great job, good friends, a nice house, the kind of life you think you've built to last. But as they say, appearances can be deceiving. The trouble started subtly. Lisa had always been a bit of a bitch, honestly. She's the kind of girl who can be charming when she wants something, but she's also manipulative and not afraid to lie. Still, I loved her, or at least I thought I did. We had our routines, and I figured the occasional fight or her little lies were just part of the package. But then she started staying late at work more often. At first, I didn't think much of it. She'd come home tired, make some excuse about a project or a meeting. I'd ask her what she did, she'd brush it off, saying, "Just work stuff, you wouldn't understand." That kind of dismissive attitude always rubbed me the wrong way, but I let it go. I was busy too, chasing my career, trying to keep everything afloat. One night, though, I came home early from a business trip. I had to pick up a few things, and I decided to surprise her. I remember parking the car, walking up to the door, and feeling that strange mix of excitement and something else I couldn't quite place. As I unlocked the door and stepped inside, silence greeted me. That was weird. Lisa usually leaves a light on or greets me, even if she's mad. I called out her name, but there was no response. I went into the living room, and that's when I saw it. Her purse was open on the sofa, jewelry scattered around. Nothing unusual there except for the little note tucked between the pages of a magazine. I picked it up and my heart did a strange jump. It was a love note, short, sweet, but unmistakably from someone else. It said things like, "Thinking of you all the time, can't wait to see you tonight, and love you more than anything." My stomach dropped. I looked around the house more carefully. Every little thing felt off. Her lipstick on the coffee table, her phone on. The kitchen counter with a text message that read, "Can't wait to see you tonight, babe. Let's make it unforgettable." I read it a few times and suddenly everything clicked. This wasn't just a late night work thing. It was something else, something much darker. I didn't want to believe it. I was angry, confused, hurt all at once. I thought about confronting her right then, but part of me needed to gather my thoughts. I snuck a peek at her phone, and sure enough, there were dozens of texts, some exchanged earlier that day, some from her friend Mark, my supposed best friend. I'd always trusted Mark, too. It felt like something inside me shattered. How could she do this? Behind my back, in my own house. It was like my entire world was crumbling in that moment. I knew I couldn't keep quiet. I had to confront her. But I also knew that once I said something, there'd be no going back. My gut told me this was just the beginning of a storm I wasn't ready for. I had no idea how deep this betrayal really went, and honestly, I was terrified of what I might discover next. I took a deep breath and decided I couldn't just let this slide. I needed answers, and I needed them now. I waited for her to come home, feeling like a stranger in my own house. The minutes dragged on, each one feeling longer than the last. My mind was racing, trying to figure out what to say, what to ask, how to keep my temper in check. When Lisa finally walked in the door, she looked exhausted but still had that typical bitchy smirk on her face. She was already throwing her bag down, heading straight to the kitchen like she owned the place. I stayed rooted in the living room, my fists clenched, heart pounding like a drum. I decided to confront her before she could get comfortable. "Lisa," I said, my voice shaking just enough. She turned around, arching an eyebrow like I was annoying her already. "Who's Mark?" She froze for a second, then rolled her eyes. "What are you talking about? I don't know any Mark," she said dismissively, flipping her hair. But her eyes darted away for just a second, and her face lost that usual sass. There was a flicker of guilt. There, not enough to fool me, though. I pulled out the note from the magazine and tossed it onto the table. This love note, from Mark, I assume, or someone you're sleeping with." I tried to keep my voice steady, but my hands were trembling. Her eyes widened a little, then she scoffed. "Oh, please, that's just stupid. Someone probably planted that to mess with me. You know how people are, always making up shit." She crossed her arms, but her voice cracked just a little. I saw right through her. She was lying big time. "Really? Because I found your phone, the texts, the messages. You and Mark exchanged love notes in my house behind my back. How long has this been going on?" I wanted to yell, but I held back, trying to keep some control over myself. She sneered. It's not what it looks like. Mark's just a friend. You're overreacting. You're always so paranoid. Maybe I stay late at work because I have to, not because I'm sneaking around." Her tone was bitchy, dismissive, like she was trying to brush it all off, like I was just some stupid idiot who didn't know what he was talking about, but I knew better. I could see the cracks in her act. Her eyes darted around, her voice was pitched higher than usual, and she was avoiding my gaze. That's when I realized she'd been lying for weeks, maybe longer. She'd been hiding something, and I was just catching up now. I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak. I'd loved her, trusted her, and this was how she repaid me, with lies, betrayal, and secret notes in my own house. It was like my entire life was a lie, and I had no idea what was real anymore. I looked at her, furious and broken all at once, knowing that this was only the beginning of what was coming next. After that night, everything changed. I was still reeling from the shock, but I knew I couldn't let her get away with it without some kind of punishment. I felt this burning need to make her pay, to even the score for all the lies, the sneaking around, the betrayal in my own home. I started thinking about what I could do, how I could turn this around and get some kind of revenge. The first step was gathering more evidence. I went through her phone when she wasn't looking, digging up old messages, photos, even some emails I hadn't seen before. It was disgusting how many lies she'd told, how she'd hidden all this from me. I found plenty of proof that she'd been sharing secret moments with Mark, exchanging flirtatious messages, even planning meetups. And it wasn't just the notes. They'd had sex, I found out after I'd left on that business trip. She told me she was working late, but in reality she was in my own house with my supposed best friend. That's when everything inside me turned cold. I started formulating a plan. I knew I had to confront her again, but this time with more evidence. I wanted to see her squirm, to know she couldn't deny it anymore. So I waited until she left for work one morning, then I returned home early, set up a hidden camera in the living room. I wanted to catch her in the act, to get her on record lying, cheating, whatever she was going to do next. And sure enough, the moment I pressed play, I saw her sneaking into the house that very night, holding hands with Mark. They were kissing on the couch, whispering secrets, completely oblivious to the camera. I saw her slip a love note into his pocket and then head into the bedroom with him. Watching it all made my stomach turn, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. These were the proof I needed to finally face her head-on. That evening, I called her when she was leaving work. I told her I wanted to meet up. When she got home, I was sitting in the living room holding her phone and the evidence I'd collected. Her eyes widened the moment she saw the video. She tried to deny everything at first, blamed the whole thing on a misunderstanding, said Mark was just a friend, and that I was crazy for even thinking she'd do something like this. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I told her I knew about the love notes, the sex, the lies. Her face twisted into something bitter. She spat out, "You're such a control freak. You're paranoid, always accusing me of shit I didn't do. Maybe if you paid more attention, you'd see I'm not." The problem. That kind of bitchy deflection really got to me. It was classic Lisa, blame everyone else, spin her lies, make herself the victim. But I wasn't falling for it anymore. I looked straight into her eyes and told her I didn't want to be married to a lying, cheating bitch, that I was done playing her game, that I was going to leave her, that I'd had enough of the betrayal, enough of the lies. I felt this surge of rage and heartbreak at the same time. It was like losing a part of myself, knowing the woman I loved had been sleeping with my best friend behind my back. It was a crushing blow, and I knew I'd never be the same after this. After I laid everything out, showed her the footage, handed her the evidence, I expected her to break down, maybe beg me to forgive her or at least try to spin some new lie to get herself out of the mess. But Lisa just looked at me with that bitchy sneer, like she thought she was untouchable. She rolled her eyes and said, "Whatever, Mike, you're overreacting. This is just your stupid jealousy talking. Mark and I are just having some fun, that's all. You're so insecure, it's pathetic." That was it. That was the final straw. Seeing her act like she was the victim, like I was the one losing my mind over some meaningless affair, made me furious. The betrayal ran so deep I couldn't even find the words to respond. Honestly, I just stared at her, feeling this cold emptiness settle in my chest. How the hell did I get here? How did the woman I trusted turn into this manipulative, lying bitch? I told her I wanted her out of the house, told her I couldn't stand to look at her anymore. She laughed, a bitter, nasty laugh, and then said, "You're not going to do anything. You're just a weak little man, too scared to admit you're not enough for me. Mark's better in bed anyway, isn't he?" That comment hit me in the gut harder than anything else. Her words, her attitude, she was trying to break me with insults, trying to make me feel small. I knew I had to leave. I couldn't stay in that house with her anymore. I grabbed a suitcase, packed a few essentials, and told her I was going to stay at a friend's place for a bit. But as I was walking out the door, she called after me, her voice dripping with venom. "You're so stupid, Mike. You think you're hurting me. You're just a pathetic little man who couldn't satisfy me anyway. Mark and I were just getting started." That was the moment I realized I was done. Done with the lies, the manipulation, the betrayal. That night, I stayed at my buddy David's place. I drank too much, trying to drown the feelings of anger, sadness, and pure betrayal. I kept asking myself how I didn't see it all coming, how I missed the signs. The woman I loved, the woman I'd trusted with everything, had been cheating on me for weeks, maybe longer, and I was just too blind to see it. That night marked the end of my marriage, but it also marked the beginning of something else, something I didn't fully understand yet. I was angry, yes, but underneath that was a deep sadness I couldn't shake. I kept replaying the moments I'd missed, the lies I'd ignored, and I wondered if I'd ever be able to trust anyone again. It hurt more than I thought possible, and I couldn't help feeling like a fool for ever believing she was different. In the days that followed, everything felt numb. I'd go through the motions, going to work, coming home, trying to act normal, but inside I was just a shell of myself. The house, which used to be full of life and laughter, now felt cold and hollow. Every corner seemed to whisper her lies, her deception. I kept seeing her face in my mind, that bitchy smirk, the way she dismissed everything like I was nothing. The worst part was that I still loved her, or at least I thought I did. Part of me kept asking if there was any way to save what was left, to forgive her and move on. But then I remembered that little love note, how they exchanged messages in my house, the sex, how she lied to my face repeatedly. That was the moment I realized I couldn't go back. Not anymore. Not after everything I'd found out. I decided I had to cut her out of my life completely. I filed for divorce, not because I wanted to punish her, but because I knew I couldn't keep living with her lies. I wanted to start fresh, even if that meant rebuilding myself from the ground up. It wasn't easy. The betrayal cut deep, and I kept wondering if I'd ever feel normal again. I also knew I needed to confront Mark, my supposed best friend, but I wasn't sure I was ready for that yet. In the meantime, I started focusing on myself. I went to the gym more regularly, threw myself into work, and started seeing a counselor. The counselor told me to process my feelings, to accept that I was hurt, but also to find a way to move forward. I didn't want to hate Lisa. I wanted to forgive her for myself, not for her, but that felt impossible right now. The pain was still fresh, and every time I thought I was getting better, another memory popped up and knocked me back down. One night, I ran into Mark at a bar. I didn't expect to see him, but there he was, with that smug look on his face, like he thought he'd won something. I sat down next to him, and before he could say anything, I told him what I thought of him, how he betrayed me, how he fucked my wife behind my back, how he was just a pathetic piece of shit trying to steal another guy's life. He looked surprised at first, then started making excuses, saying Lisa was just lonely, that he didn't mean to hurt me, that it was just sex. I told him I didn't give a damn what his reasoning was, that he was a piece of shit and I'd never trust him again. That's when I realized I'd never be able to forgive either of them. The damage was done. I walked away from that bar that night feeling like I'd lost everything, my wife, my best friend, my sense of security. But at the same time, I finally started to feel a tiny bit of relief, like maybe I could breathe again, even if it was just a little. Now I'm still picking up the pieces, trying to rebuild my life. I know I'll never forget what happened, but I also know I can't let it define me. My lesson: trust your gut. Don't ignore the little signs. And when someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Because once The truth comes out, everything changes. And honestly, I wouldn't wish this kind of betrayal on anyone. It's a brutal lesson in how fragile love and trust really are. Looking back now, I realize how much this experience changed me, probably forever. I used to believe in happily ever after and the idea that love could conquer all, but now I know better. Betrayal like this leaves a scar that never fully heals, no matter how much time passes. It's a constant reminder that people aren't always who they seem to be, and that sometimes trusting someone blindly can destroy your world in an instant. I've learned to be more cautious, more guarded. Not because I want to push people away, but because I don't want to get blindsided again. I've also learned that revenge isn't really about hurting them back. It's about reclaiming your power, your dignity, and your peace of mind. For me, that meant walking away, cutting ties, and focusing on my own healing. If I could give anyone advice who's dealing with something similar, it would be this: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the little red flags because they're usually warning signs of something much worse. And when you discover betrayal, don't let guilt or shame make you stay in a situation that's hurting you. You deserve better. You deserve someone who won't lie to your face, cheat behind your back, or exchange love notes in your own house. Most of all, I've come to accept that life is unpredictable. Sometimes the people you love the most can hurt you the worst. But that doesn't mean you're weak. It just means you're human. And you have the strength to walk away, to rebuild, and to find happiness again, even if it takes years. Right now, I'm focusing on myself. I'm rebuilding my confidence, my trust in people, and my sense of worth. Most importantly, I'm learning that the only person who can truly fix what's broken inside is me. And I'm okay with that. Because even after everything, I know I'll come out the other side stronger, wiser, and more cautious, but still hopeful. Because life goes on, and someday, I'll find someone who's worth trusting again.